Hi. Hi. Hello. Oh, it's Sheba Sunday. Sunday already, I know, right? What a week. But no, it's been lovely. This actually is perfect. Look at it. I got it on the first. I got the camera, the mic height pretty perfect without even like having a visual confirmation. So, again, just great at this. Just a natural. Hello. I'm Sheba. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday. It's been a nice leisurely day. Cool weekend. We filmed a great, oh my god, last week, Breadlums went so well. Everyone loved us. We were so funny. The trailer was so good. Yeah, it was really awesome. So it was nice to see, like, literally years, I guess, of hard work kind of get to like another level, and it was awesome. Everyone loved it. Anyway, okay, does everyone have their coffee, their mimosa, maybe a joint, maybe a morning cigarette, whatever? Yeah, I have gotten recent from two very powerful and wise black women who were like, you don't have to like smoke weed on camera, which I'm like, you know, everything's made up of this like silly game that we're all in. Um, and some of the rules are like dumb, but it's like when I was in high school and, you know, dollar for a dress down day. Stupid rule, but an easy one to not publicly violate. So, you know, worth a lot of, you know, it might be worth a lot of, save me a lot of future Shebas hassle, you know, inconvenience and whatnot. And it's not really the point. The point is to do these high notes. So grateful that I have all these awesome, like, freaking people who literally come into my house and I don't have to do anything and they just give me like amazing advice and insight and like help, like, give me another lens of how I am being perceived, and if people are picking up what I'm putting down, and so far they are, so it's pretty great. Yeah. Um yeah, so happy Sunday. This is the third episode of Sheba Sunday. Three is like a cool, powerful number that I'm really into. Actually, at three today, we have my friend Kate, who I'm also very grateful for. She's such a cool human that, like, I feel grateful that, like, is, like, loves me. And so she invited us to this um, Philharmonic, the Prince George's County Philharmonic is doing like a kind of holiday program, and Felicia Rashad is like doing a reading during it. Which, like, yeah, I loved her as Claire Huxtable. I always wanted to, like, I think that's what made me want to be like, wanted to at least play a lawyer on TV where I could like, everyone knew I was a lawyer. I had this prestigious thing where I was obviously smart, but I was like cool and dressed well and was very loving and was also this like, you know, whole person outside of it. Felicia Rashad in real life is a bit of a rape apologist, but I get it. She was with, you know, the alleged rapist in a, you know, very congenial, um, mutually beneficial relationship for like years. It would suck to be in that position. So, Billy, be cool. No, I'm kidding. It's cool, but you gotta be aware of that stuff. You know, we're all collectively becoming more aware of how our actions and like what we condone and normalize, you know, has effects later. And we should just be like a little more intentional about stuff, I guess. I don't know. This thing is, you know, such an interesting little existence we're in. So, yeah. Anyway, so today, what did I say? Okay, I think I had more things oh, actually, because I have this thing at 3 today, I want to kind of get in and out a little bit. And so, okay, I will just like talk about stuff that I'm grateful for, like during. We don't have to have like separate things. Today, I finally settled on the title for this one: How to Be a Good Descendant. Family lineage, the royal lineage. Everyone's into Ancestry.com and things, and all like, figuring out where you come from, who you belong to. I think we all have this like desire to like know more about who we are and who these vessels are, where they came from, how they came to be. I don't want to do Ancestry or like the ones where I have to like give my DNA to a corporation. Corporations, the one we know, are only out to like take information about us so they can like exploit it and exploit us and make us pay money. And anyway, just seems like, that's how we're gonna get clones. If everyone keeps giving their DNA voluntarily to a corporation. But I do understand the desire to like know a little bit more. We're a nation of immigrants and colonizers and people whose homes have been destroyed and, ripped from them, and they've been made strangers in their homeland. So we all have this like, desire to know where we came from, because I feel like if you know where you came from, it's easier to see where you're going, right? I think that makes sense. That makes sense to me. And so I recognize that I am very fortunate to have like, even without doing Ancestry.com, like I happen to have like a very, I don't want to say prestigious, but like legendary, maybe iconic, exceptional family like lineage. This vessel was born into like a really cool ass family of people. And we will start in America, like where any good story starts, my ancestors were slaves. They came from Africa. I don't know which part. I would assume maybe the West, if that's how, if I were to take a ship, the shortest route I think would be from like the West. Anyway, came to America. Had we were in like South Carolina. Got some people who are from Gullah Gullah Island. I know that's a real island apparently. There's this movie that is like about that island. Oh, it's 111. Crazy. Okay. Anyway, Gullah Island. First person who I like know the name of is this guy Kelly Miller. I love a gender bendy name. So my great 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 grandfather Kelly Miller was born like a couple days after the Emancipation Proclamation. So he was technically not a slave. However, I'm pretty sure the laws were still very like, pro not slave. So like, it was probably still illegal to like teach Black people to read. Because, once you can master the language and convey your things, whole new world opens to you. So anyway, great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, this white guy, a preacher or something, someone involved in a church, like, taught him how to read, saw his aptitude for, like, math and stuff, and, anyway, my grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, would go on to be the first Black person to go to Johns Hopkins University. That's right, the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. But actually, the dean that had let him in when like a time where other Black people weren't allowed in, he like died or something, and like after that, it was like much harder for him to go there. He didn't have the money. So he did not graduate from Johns Hopkins, but he did go to Howard University, and he went on to like found the School of Sociology. there, and he's like a big deal. He was like a thinker, like back then, with like he was like a middle ground between Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, like a because they want us to think there's this binary. There were like two schools of thought, and those were like the predominant ones, but probably there were a lot, and like so anyway. um yeah, Kelly Miller. Look him up. There's like schools that are named after him and stuff. And his wife, who I don't remember what her name was. It might have been like Annie also, but I don't know. So we have this like fancy china that's like that my great 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 grandmother like used to like paint. Like they were like fancy like Victorian ladies, like white women were able to be, like um spending their days like playing the piano and running a household and probably a lot more if I'm honest, but I'm just like impressed that she was able to like, do art and like paint porcelain and shit. Like so cool. Okay, so anyway, they had two daughters. I want to say it was May and Gloria, maybe? Oh man, someone else. Okay, so one of them, the one whose name is escaping me right now, she was really smart at like math stuff, and she wanted to be an engineer. But my great 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 grandfather, Kelly Miller, was like, women don't do that. So I think she became a teacher, which was like a thing that women could do, like not like a professor, because that's something we reserve for men. But yeah, anyway, so she did that, and my Aunt May, she would go on to be the most widely read poet in the Harlem Renaissance. May Miller, look her up. And she was a teacher at Baltimore at Frederick Douglass, which was, the first and for a long time only school for Black children in Baltimore City. And she was their drama teacher and their English teacher, and it was really, I did this like paper on it in college, and I was the only one in the class to get an A. It was like a beautiful combination of Baltimore history and like real life historical first person data, as they call it. Anyway, it was dope. So she was awesome. As was her sister. They did not have children. So I love that, like, oh, also actually back to like my aunt, great 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 aunt, who like her dad was like, oh, women can't be engineers. Maybe like, we're all like, oh, we have cell phones now, and like, that's a testament to everything, all these people who've worked so hard. What if we would have had cell phones back in the 60s or something, if we hadn't have been good-naturedly, benevolent sexisming women into thinking, oh, women don't become engineers. No, like, we need you doing this other stuff that, like, it doesn't pay as well, and we aren't gonna, think of it as prestigious or, as useful or valuable, but, like, you do that. Maybe, like, we would have been a lot further in history. So maybe we should learn the lesson that, let women, like, figure out their shit. We're really smart. Anyway, both of them, neither of those sisters had children, which is also nice to have, like, in, my lineage, women who have had children, and those children have become awesome, great people, and women who have not had children, and the women are still awesome, great, memorable people. So, yeah. Anyway, my mom, my grandma, Annie-Mae Miller, babe, so smart, college educated woman, in like Black woman in like the, I want to say 30s and 40s, like she oh man, we've got a couple comments, 3 in a row. Find yourself a hot girl here. I mean, I agree. I agree. You're in the right place. Sheba Sunday is run by, created by, staffed by a hot girl. So you're right. Are you sure? um, I love that. Anyway, speaking of hot girls, my grandma, Annie-Mae Miller, so smart. She was a talented pianist. She was probably also a poet because she was like raised by Mae Miller. Um, so like yeah. And she Mae Miller had like these awesome like this apartment building in DC. And anyway, my mom is like the middle of I want to say six or seven. There's Uncle Tommy, Uncle Peter, Auntie, Aunt Patrice, Mom, Uncle Bobby. Seven. Damn. Seven. And she was the middle. And you know, she like really helped raise my aunt Tracy, who's like 13 years younger than her. And like I get the sense from my mom that like she like while the boys got to um you know be children, have fun and do things, like her and her sisters had to like do all of the laundry, had to like do all the dishes, had to do all of the like not fun kid stuff, all the like raising, like this is adult bullshit, and they just had to do all that stuff. They had to share also, like they had to like share a bicycle once. um they lived in this big house in DC that my auntie still lives in, and it's amazing. It's so beautiful. I want to say Kelly Miller bought it, and it's over by in like a Howard University neighborhood. Beautiful, awesome, and yeah, my mom grew up in that. So cool. She's such an interesting person. Oh my God, she just came back from a cruise where she got her first tattoo. She's just like, she's like me. She's the draw. And she's amazing. And so it's always interesting to me to think of like the women in my family as like they were probably just as like funny. I've talked about this on other shows. They were probably just as like smart and funny and like beautiful and clever and interesting and helpful and brave as I am. But they were cursed to be just in like the time they were in, where those qualities were not something they valued, certainly in Black women, not in women in general or in anyone really. But yeah, it was just like I would feel really crushed. It's really not good. And my grandmother, Annie-Mae Miller, she was really smart, talented. She married this man, my grandfather, Jack, I want to say, who was, I grew up thinking he was like a very light-skinned Black man, but apparently he was a white man who was just like, poor white trash. So he like lived in the same, him and his family, who was like so like, kind of both poor and racist, were like, they would inbreed. And so down the line comes my grandfather Jack, who lives in the is poor, so he lives around in the Black community, and marries my grandmother. And even though my grandmother was like super smart and accomplished, like his family was, like she was a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman, so they like looked down on her and were like mean to her, and like so my grandfather was in like the army or whatever, and my grandmother was a teacher, and my grandmother had to like give her paycheck every week to like my grandfather, and he would like give her an allowance of what she could use to like run the household, which is buy food and like things that 7 children need. And like she has to like haggle with this dude over her like the best use of her own money. Girl, that would kill me. That would kill me. Anyway, it did. It like crushed her eventually. She was an alcoholic, and like died prematurely and unhappily. She was mean, you know, and like I would be too. I would be like, I'm a fucking queen. I'm a goddess. And they're like relegating me to like nursemaid, unpaid nursemaid. And it's the 60s and everyone sucks. And like, ugh, I could not. You know, the like my grandma was Catholic, and this priest, she was trying to get married to this poor white man, and the priest was a white guy, and he refused to marry them because she was a black woman. He was like, if you like marry someone else, I'll marry you. And so my grandfather didn't, never went to church again. So my grandmother, for some reason, because like, man, religion is a powerful story. You like are told that's what you're supposed to do, and that's what you're supposed to give to your children. And so like, but like, I'm not gracing these institutions with my presence if they're not, gonna treat me right. But I only know that lesson from like having this, kind of understanding that like, oh man, those the women in my family like could have been me, had my consciousness been born into that body back then. And it would have sucked. I'd have been so mad. I'd have been like, okay, this is what and everyone, like, when I want to complain about it or get tired, people are just like, well, that's just how it is. Like, at least you're married. At least you have blah, blah, blah. Like, but like, no. I would know. It would suck. I would know it was unfair. I would know it was lame that like dudes got treated better than me just because of like bullshit reasons that none of us can control. Anyway. Yeah, and so my mom, like my family looks is so beautiful and diverse and interesting looking. Oh, also about my family, actually, I'm Piscataway Kanoi Indian through like my grandfather's mother's side. Everything's made up. Everything's so weird. Everyone is like everything. But so my mom and my aunts and uncles. So like my uncle, aunt, other aunt are like really light skinned, and my mom is more my skin tone, a little darker skinned, and I get the sense that where my mom used to be really shy too. If you've ever met my mom, like this would surprise you probably, but she used to be really shy. She was a wallflower. She and I think she said when she got to college or something, she was like, I don't want to be that way anymore, and just like made herself go up to people and talk and do things, try things, and that's a really cool, powerful thing to do, way to create your life. Anyway, like one time my mom was like crying that boys didn't like her, when she was in high school, and she was just like wondering to her mom, she's like, when am I gonna get like chosen, why am I not? And like her mom, who's again a mean alcoholic, but also I think loved my mom very much, loved them all very much. She was like, don't worry about it. Like, it's gonna happen for you. Like, there are men everywhere, and you focus on your studies and do all this stuff. And I kind of think that like, my grandma like recognized my mother was like beautiful and smart and awesome, but also like a dark-skinned black woman, and that like if she were to get too focused on being chosen by a dude who was probably in the same world where they had a preference for lighter skinned people, particularly women, and darker skinned women might feel pressured to like take whoever comes along. I think my grandma was like seeing that like my mom is like destined for much bigger things, and so like while you're uh, waiting to figure out what those bigger things are, live your life and develop yourself. And so I think my mom is like a really interesting, amazing person who ended up getting someone who was like really great for her, and it empowered her to like live a life that's, you know, able, she was able to like do all the things and is still doing all the things. And so like that's really dope. I think that's like a great gift you can give to your children. Just like there's a lot of people out there. So, and you're amazing. You don't come around every day. So maybe the person for you is not going to come around every day. So in the meantime, just like do the things you want to do. Focus on numero uno because yeah, one day, I don't know. You want someone who's also going to focus on your numero uno. Um, yeah. So anyway, oh my god, and my auntie, so cool. My mom's older sister, she's so amazing. Also, they are. She's. Her name was Lisa Michelle. I want to say Newman. Um, but she. I mentioned Kelly Miller didn't have any boy children, and so the last name Miller died out. After the thing, and so my auntie changed her first name to Miller, and now she's Miller Newman. I love that. Like, yes, create who you want to be. Like, our names should honor who we want them to. And so I think it's a silly thing to, to expect everyone to just like pass on the name of their father or to like take on the name of like the man like closest to them. But I do like the idea of creating something that works for you. It's really fun. My mom kept her last name. It's Agnes Newman, where my dad is Bilton Blunt. And I get that. Like Blunt, it's a tough last name. I said Bilton Blunt. Oh, I meant Milton. I had some phlegm in my things. Oh, Bilton Blunt, which I think just hammers the point home. Blunt is a difficult last name. Milton Blunt is a difficult name, I would say. I would be upset if my parents named me in this era Milton Blunt. But he was a very dynamic and interesting person. But and you'll see in this, I'm mostly talking about the women in my family because being in this female vessel, I just am able to better like relate. Like, I would probably have been treated like the women in my family rather than the men. And so yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. Okay, so another thing, when my dad died, I started thinking about like family and history a lot more too, and I was wondering like, so Kelly Miller, very, successful, important figure and blah, blah, blah. His daughters, also very successful people. And I'm like, what happened, like, in between them? Like, not that, like, my family, I grew up poor or anything, but, like, some people, my family certainly did. And I'm like, why aren't we, like, rich, and I asked my mom that, and she's like, just because, like, someone is, good at money or good at navigating through, this life doesn't mean that, like, their children will be. And when you pass things down through dudes, we get the world that we have now. And so, yeah, when my Aunt May died, she had this property in DC, and my aunt, my mom, and like her siblings. One of the siblings sued, my mom and my auntie, to get them to sell the apartment building in DC. that belonged to Aunt-Mae and distribute the funds between the 7 children. Which, like, I'll be honest, this happened like a lot through my childhood, so I didn't really know like kind of half of my aunts and uncles for most of my life because I think there was this. I mean, I'd be mad if my siblings sued me. It would take me a minute to be able to like want to spend time with them for free. Um, so I get it. But yeah, so they ended up, you know, having to sell it and distributing the funds. And like, can you imagine if like I was part, you know, inheritance owner of a apartment building in DC, the District of Columbia? Short-sighted people wanting like a short-term gain. Cause like also like, you know, whenever the settlement was, I certainly didn't notice like a huge windfall of like money that came from that sale. I feel like we could have held out a little longer. Could have had a little patience and just let Aunt-Mae's will, you know, do what she wanted to with it, which was like give it to Auntie. So, you know, that's how this weird existence is. We like, you know, teach people to like care mostly about like money and stuff and not like being equitable and all that stuff. Anyway, though, it's been really cool to have all of this family history, all of these interesting characters. My Aunt Tracy, who's also amazing, she, you know, used to be married to this guy who was like nice enough to me, but like was mean to her and was like using her, you know, her kindness to like get ahead and disadvantage her. So it's really nice to have all these like examples of like other women who like just because of like a little bit of chance, I am not those women. Like I can learn though from like things that happened in their lives, and it's like helpful. I think I'm doing so great right now talking to you in front of this beautiful couch in this comfortable chair that belongs to my like amazing partner, like looking so beautiful. Oh, I got a note that like I touch my hair a lot and I was like, is that like a nervousness thing? And like perhaps it is like an unconscious tick, but like I also think I'm very beautiful and I'm like I love being able to like stare at myself in this mirror as I talk and like see what that looks like. So it's both. It's both, I guess, an insecurity and extreme self-love and appreciation. Yeah. Um yeah. So that was like this has been like an abbreviated like over 100-year history of like tidbits of people who I'm lucky I have access to like their stories and their lives and their lenses so I can kind of reorient myself sometimes. Oh my God, my auntie. So she's amazing. She was a professor of English at Montgomery College, and she's a doctor of education, I want to say, and she's a writer, and she's just really cool. A bruja once told me that me and this auntie were twins in a former life. I don't know. Everything's made up. I think her guess is as good as mine. I do feel an affinity for that aunt. I wrote this poem when I was like 10 or something, and it was about the wind. It's really good. And my auntie wrote like a kind of companion rebuttal response poem to it. And it was in this anthology of poems. We're just like, you know, our family, obviously we have like a way with words, and we're, you know, we've always been good at like using language to understand our experience of this world and navigate through and pull other people along with us. So it's great. And so anyway, that auntie, she's so cool, and she was on one of these other uh, episodes in the comments, and it was just very like encouraging. A couple, maybe like a year ago, I went over to her house with Billy, and she had made this like, it was like a collage of like pictures of like all the women in our family, and like it was the poem that I had written, the companion poem. She had written me 2 poems. It was this like whole thing on like, it was called Sheba, Know Thyself. Whew. And that was kind of my theme for this past year, leading up to now, was just like getting to know more of who this being called Sheba is, and get to know it and get to love it, being intentional about like loving this existence that I happen to find myself in. And it's been really fun. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I'm like 111 days, no alcohol. 111. What a beautiful angel number. And throughout that process, it is like, it's been part of getting to know myself. And oh my God, it's been really nice to like, I was afraid I wasn't going to be as funny or interesting or calm, cool, if I wasn't drinking, which I used to be like really good at. I was like great at drinking a lot, like old fashions, high ABV beers and stuff. And I could still be very like the same charming, engaging person that, as ever. But yeah, I was realizing like I'm too good at this. Like it's gonna have to catch up with me. Like I don't think my liver cares that I'm able to maintain this awesome job and look, pretty great. Like something's probably going on. So let me cool it. So it's been nice to like not be drinking. I've been meditating more. I've been just like allowing myself to see what I do when I'm bored. And apparently it's like figure out about myself. It's follow trains of thought. It's like go off on tangents. It's creating. It's talking to myself a lot. I'm always like acting out scenarios in my head, and, hopefully when I'm alone, but like I see that like, sometimes I can't help but like talk to myself, and I'll be daydreaming or getting into this scenario in my head. And anyway, this whole episode has been a really nice way to just reinforce like my freaking so many times in my life, like I am glad I can look back and be like, man, there were probably all these different women who had not the same but kind of similar problems, where they were like worried about belonging, about how to support themselves, about how to express themselves, how to relate to others. And they like figured it out. And some of the things, like they had to make sacrifices that like, I don't know. I don't think they made all those sacrifices and had to make themselves smaller to fit in for safety, to get access to, the best life they could at the time. I don't think they made all those sacrifices, so I would have to make the same ones. I think they did that so that they could be, I think if they had it their way, they would have been a lot mouthier, and they would have been worshipped more. People would have spoken about them with more love. People would have promoted them more. Like, people would have recognized all of the amazingness that they put out into the world and would celebrate them for it. And so I'm just gonna do that because I think that's what they would have wanted. Yeah. Remember in Mulan, Please Bring Honor to Us All? Great movie. Great songs. One of the one is about like wanting to bring honor to your family. And so, as we learn in Mulan, it's honorable to, be yourself and be the kind of fullest version of you. And maybe that's not great advice for everyone, because like this is granted, like I am really awesome and interesting at my best and very helpful. So you might not be. So got to get to know yourself though first. Got to know thyself before you can see like, which parts do I want to like elevate and, like harness and blah blah blah, and which parts, could I unpack a little more and see how they're serving me and shit. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is like I'm kind of like that's like kind of what I wanted to say. Did I like I wrote some notes. I'm pretty sure I like did everything though. Oh, okay. So also my siblings. I'm gonna have to do like several different parts of this. I'll do my dad's side. I'll do like another one just to make sure I caught everyone. But yeah, my siblings are like so amazing and like, ugh, yeah, we'll do a whole episode on siblings. They're just, oh my god, so fun. And I'm so glad that we have the example of like my mom's family, and my dad's family to see like, you like siblings are just people who accidentally were born to the same parents that you were. And I have a theory that past four children, like the DNA is too diversified and they're essentially just random people. It's too hard to tell if they're going to be an asshole or not. So I'm not trying to tell you how to plan your families, but just anecdotally, it seems like past four gets a little touch and go on siblings. But with three, like I have me, Freddie, and Zarin, it's a beautiful, perfect, holy trinity of like we're all like really interesting, full, different, but similar in the best ways kind of people. And so super fun. We're all really great. It's been super fun to like get to know them more as they figure out who they are too. And it's been nice to like be in the way that like all the people in my family are kind of help reorient me. I think maybe I do that for them too. Hopefully, yeah, because I'm pretty great and they are like really, they made me feel very loved, and valued. So it's dope. I'm just so lucky. Oh my God. So anyway, that's about it. I'm about to get off to this Philharmonic show on this Sheba Sunday. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so excited for you guys because like the next ones of these, as I get more like assistance from my awesome fucking like support group, it's just gonna get like better and better. And you're gonna have even more things to look forward to on a Sunday. So anyway, love ya. I'm gonna go back to this other song that is perfect. See you hoes next week. Love you.